vast in that time. From one side, all the way to Khorasan, which is modern day, Afghanistan, and even further than that, right into Sindh, on the borders of Hind, all the way across to the other side into Africa. Everyone had to say that the Quran is created and it is not the speech of Allah. Anyone who said other than that will be persecuted and executed. So Imam Ahmad was from them. Some of those scholars we brought in front of the ruler or brought in front of the governor, and they would say to him, what do you say about the Quran? Because they wanted it to be taught in the schools. They wanted it to be taught in the masajid and in the madaris. Everywhere, everyone had to agree. All the ai*imma of the masajid, every imam in the mosque, every teacher who was teaching, every muhaddith and scholar that was teaching had to agree that the Quran was created. Otherwise, it would be death. So they took, for example, I'll give you an example of a scholar, Nu'aym bin Hammad. Nu'aym bin Hammad eventually died 2 years before Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal in the year 239. He began with the ideology that the Quran was created. He was a Jahmi, he was a deviant when he began. He was a person of knowledge, but he fell into deviation. So then, after he fell into deviation, he started seeking the knowledge of hadith, the statements of the Prophet ﷺ. And he sat with some of the ulama, the true ulama, and he realized that that ideology that he held was false. So what did he do? He recanted. Not only did he recant, he became one of the greatest scholars that the world has ever seen. From the teachers of Imam al-Bukhari. Imam al-Bukhari took hadith from him. This is how great he was. Imam Muslim likewise. From the greatest of the scholars of the Ummah in Egypt at that time. So then when he started spreading the knowledge, the truth, he wrote 15 books in refutation of the people of deviation. 15 books. Then one day the ruler, he sent a group to him. And they said to him that you are basically imprisoned at the order of Al-Mu'tasim, who was the ruler of that time. And when he asked, of course, the reason being that he said that the Quran is the speech of Allah and the Quran is not created. So they punished him and they tortured him. They put him in chains and they punished him and they tortured him. And they said to him, either you say that the Quran is created or we will kill you. He said, I prefer death over the kufr that you are calling me to. So they put him into chains. And when they eventually killed him, he said to some of his students when they came to visit him, he said, by Allah, when I die, do not wash my body and do not shroud me and do not take off these chains. For indeed, after they have killed me, I want Allah to raise me in the condition that they have killed me in. And then I will complain to Allah as to what they did for me with regard to what I said about your deen. So they imprisoned him in the year 234. And by that time he was getting elderly. Remember, he's a teacher from the teachers of Imam al-Bukhari. Imam Bukhari died in the year 256. He was getting elderly. So they came to him in chains. And they said that they wrapped him tight around his legs in chain and around his shoulders and hands. And they used to beat him and punish him and whip him. And he was from the ulama, ya ikhwan. From the companions. In fact, he was from the greatest of the companions of those great ulama of that time, the likes of Ishaq ibn Rahawayh and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, from the teachers of Imam al-Bukhari. And how many, in fact, you'll hardly find a book of hadith out of the 6 books, Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, At-Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, and Nasa'i, except that Nu'aym bin Hammad is a narrator in those books, as a muhaddith and scholar. Look what they did to him. So they came to him, and Mu'tasim himself, in some of those narrations they mention that the Mu'tasim himself took a dagger and he took off the hands of Nu'aym bin Hammad. Right? And he still refused. And then they commanded some of the people, some of the guards, to dig a hole for him. So they dug a hole for him. They said, either you will accept that the Quran is created, or we're going to throw you in that hole and you will die within it. We'll just cover you with dirt. He said, I'm not going to say that the Quran is created. I will not say that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not permitted me to say. So eventually they threw him into the hole and he died in that state. And they did not wash his body, they did not remove the chains from him, and they did not shroud him. They buried him, those people, like that. This is from the time of that deviation. Imam Ahmad likewise. That what they did to Imam Ahmad, they did something also to Mushir. That this was from the teachers of Imam al-Bukhari, same thing, that they brought him in front of the governor or the ruler. And as he stepped forward, he saw already that the block upon which they were taking off the heads of the people, from the scholars. they would bring, and these are from the teachers of the greatest scholars of their era. We're not talking about the local Maulana in the masjid in the year 2009. We're talking about the teachers of Bukhari, the companions of Tirmidhi, the companions of Ahmad ibn Hanbal from that era. So Murshid was brought in front of the ruler, and he already saw in front of him the carpet stained with blood, and people had been killed before him. So they brought him forward, and they said to him, what do you say about the Quran? He said, the speech of Allah not created. He was elderly, very old in his age at that time. I think he was somewhere in the region of, in his late 70s when they brought him. He said, the speech of Allah not created. They said, put his head down and take it off now. So they put his head down, and he went down. And then he said, created. So then they brought him back up. He said, what did you say? He said, not created. Speech of Allah. He said, okay, put his head down. They put his head down again. He said, created. They brought him back up. What did you say? He said, not created, the speech of Allah. So they said, if we kill him, it will be said that we killed the one who agreed with us. So what will we do with him? So they decided to imprison him till he died. So they put him in prison, and he died after, past the age of 80 in prison.